This is Annie of ByAnnie.com and Patterns by Annie. Thank you so much for joining us today for Live with Annie. As usual, we've started the stream a bit early. This helps us get everything set up and broadcasting properly to our various platforms. You can find a countdown clock on the screen showing how long it will be until we actually go live. While you wait, please connect with us and other viewers in the chat. Let us know where you are from and whether you're a new or longtime viewer. We'll see you live soon! Thanks again for joining us for Live with Annie. We are so happy to have you with us today. While you wait for the program to start, we hope you'll enjoy the content playing on screen. There's so much inspiration, so take a moment to tell us what you love in the chat. Don't forget there is a countdown clock on the screen so you know how long until we go live. Hi, I'm Annie of ByAnnie.com and Patterns by Annie. Thank you so much for joining us for episode 7 of season 6 of Live with Annie. In today's episode, we are having a conversation with Elissa Ziccardi of Quilting Elissa about her 2 new exciting patterns. These include the stunning Dream Star Quilt, a foundation paper piece design that creates dramatic star-filled effects with clever color placement. Ooh, that's a tongue twister. And the versatile Bella Hood expansion pack, which adds stylish attached or removable hood options to the Bella Quilt Coat. So whether you love quilting, garment sewing, or both, you won't want to miss this behind-the-scenes look at Elissa's latest designs, so stay tuned. It is so great to see all of you here. We know there are so many things you could be doing with this time, and we really appreciate it when you take the time to be with us, even if you are catching us on the replay. Please take a moment to follow us wherever you are watching. And if you know someone else who might enjoy the information that we share, please tell them about Live with Annie too. Just tag them while you're watching, as that will take them directly to the episode so they can watch it as well. Also, we love hearing from you, so please interact with us throughout this presentation. If you have any questions, just add them in the comments or chat, and we will do our best to answer them before we close. In our last episode, we took a closer look at the 4 new ByAnnie patterns introduced this spring: Stitcher's Suitcase, Feathered Friends, Cubicle Collective, and Waste Management. Whether you're in the mood to organize, travel, decorate your space, or wear something you made, we shared lots of ideas to inspire you. And if you missed that episode or want to watch it again, remember that you can find all the previous 205 episodes of Live with Annie at ByAnnie.com live. And you'll find most of the past episodes at our YouTube channel too. Just remember that live episodes are on our Facebook page for only 30 days. And we've put up all those links to make them easy for you to find. If anyone's tried to visit our website since yesterday, you might have noticed it was down for a while, but the team worked really hard. I think they've got most of the bugs worked out and the website's back up. So if you want to watch live there, you're welcome to do that as well. All right, so as I said, it is such a pleasure today to welcome back Elissa Ziccardi of Quilting Elissa to Live with Annie. Many of you may remember meeting Elissa in prior episodes of Live with Annie, including episodes 13 and 14 of Season 5, when we talked about her brand new collaboration with us. Well, Elissa's been busy designing 2 more fabulous new patterns that combine her love of quilting with her garment and quilt making expertise. I cannot wait for all of you to hear about her inspiration and see these beautiful new designs up close. So please help me give a warm welcome back to Elissa of Quilting Elissa.
Thanks, Annie. I'm so happy to be back.
It is always fun to have you here, and we have so much to talk about today. But before we dive into the projects, I want you to tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how your quilting journey began.
Oh, sure, I would love to. So I started sewing in the spring of 2011, and my sewing started really simply. I just wanted to make a skirt for my oldest daughter. Garment making came before quilting and bag making. And almost overnight, my simple sewing grew into Bella Bambini, a thriving custom children's boutique. Known for its one-of-a-kind, unique designs, I embraced layers and layers of ruffle, loads of applique, ribbons and trims and buttons, really showcasing my love of color and all the things from the very beginning. Fast forward to the COVID pandemic in spring 2020, when my quilting journey really began. My 3 kids were schooling from the kitchen table. I found myself really anxious and in need of a creative outlet to settle my mind and simultaneously keep my hands busy. I had stitched up tons of masks, as I'm sure many of us did, within those first couple of months. With nothing but time and a very healthy stash of fabric at my fingertips, I was looking for a challenge and in need of community. I wanted to try a new to me style of sewing, and welcome to the wonderful world of quilting. I dabbled in a little bit of everything and learned so much along the way. Traditionally pieced log cabin blocks led me to learning foundation paper piecing and English paper piecing simultaneously. My favorite method of machine sewing almost instantly became foundation paper piecing. I absolutely love the concept of taking small bits of fabric, joining them at crazy angles that create a truly epic display.
Boy, I am so with you on that. I love foundation paper piecing too, because it gives me the ability to make really amazingly complex blocks, and I know they're going to fit together perfectly. It really is such a great process. And can I just say, those kids' clothes you showed are amazing, and you are right, they are so very you. So let's talk first about the Dream Star Quilt. What inspired this design?
The inspiration for this design was really fun. I was presented with a wonderful opportunity from Free Spirit Fabrics to have my Bella Quilt Coat and my quilted sneakers walk in the H&H America's fashion show in 2024. The added challenge was to create pants to complement the coat for a head-to-toe look. I knew I wanted to take my love of quilting into the garment. I love symmetry, creating secondary patterns, and telling a story with color and lots of fabrics. I started to sketch, plan a layout, and then apply the color. I loved that I could essentially create a quilt top and then cut that down into pattern pieces for a wearable garment. The makings of a quilt pattern is taking shape at this point, as you can see. I received so many wonderful messages and questions asking for a quilt pattern. And the good thing is that I also wanted this design to live as a quilt. So fast forward a year, and in 2025, Free Spirit Fabrics again very graciously invited me to participate in the fashion show at H&H Americas, and I wanted to create the blocks in a new style of crop pants with an asymmetrical style line. I knew I needed to make the blocks micro-sized. They finished at 2 inches each. Woo! But the juice was totally worth the squeeze on these pants, and I really love them. So shortly after this show, I set about laying the framework of the pattern and mocking up different quilt tops for upcoming fabric collections until I was pleased with the final layouts, and that is what you see today.
That is super amazing. I can't even imagine how many 2-inch blocks you had to make to complete those pants. It's a good thing they were crop pants, not bell bottoms.
Right.
But you were right. It was definitely worth every bit of work you put into that. So was there a particular quilt block or technique that sparked this idea?
Foundation paper piecing is the technical catalyst for the quilt. The precision, the rhythm of the piecing, and the puzzle entwined in the layout. FPP really allows you to create geometric illusions with angles.
Yeah, for sure. How long did it take you to design this whole thing?
The design process itself didn't take a ton of time because I could already see in my head the secondary pattern that I wanted to bring to life. The color placement took the most amount of time, and the fabric pull is very arguably my absolute favorite part of any project. So it was a lot of fun.
That's great. So did the quilt turn out looking the way you imagined it in your head when you started?
Yeah, it really did. And that was so exciting. Once I could see it in my mind, I knew it was possible. Then it was just being patient as all of the blocks came together into rows, then into sections, and finally into the quilt top itself.
That's terrific. So as you said, the pattern uses foundation paper piecing. So for viewers who might be new to that technique, can you explain a little bit about what it is and why you chose it for this design?
Oh, absolutely. So foundation paper piecing, or FPP for short, is a quilting method that uses a printed template as a guide. This is called a foundation. Each section of the foundation is numbered, making it easy to know where each fabric piece goes, almost like a color by number. In this case, it's quilt by number, and FPP creates sharp points, straight lines, and beautifully accurate designs, even with small or very detailed pieces. I ultimately chose FPP for the Dream Star Quilt because it keeps the angled piecing extremely straightforward, very simple, and the results in super precise points, which is one of my favorite parts about FPP, that really enhances the concentric design of the quilt itself.
I agree. There are so many benefits of FPP. I especially love, like you said, the accuracy and the precision that you can accomplish with this technique. I am not a careful piecer, and FPP makes me look really good.
I'm so with you there. FPP makes you look like a total rock star with actually very little effort. If you can sew on a line, you can FPP. Since the process of FPP results in really accurate points and supreme precision, which is what I'm after, as you said, sometimes when we're piecing, we're tired or we're just not in the mood that day. So an FPP, the process, AKA the work, becomes the actual fun. You're motivated to keep going because your block looks so good. And I think that's one of the reasons that I stick with it and that it's my absolute favorite. It's just really enjoyable.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And the thing that every time I do something with FPP is I'm so impressed to see those nice sharp points that I can get. And I agree, it's hard to stop. It's kind of like eating potato chips. You want to do just one more block, just one more block, just one more block, and pretty soon you're halfway done. So that's really awesome. Do you have any tips for joining those blocks once they are made?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So when it comes to joining the quilt blocks, the precision of our points and the accuracy of our finished block is really paramount. Because you have the foundation paper that the fabric is sewn to, FPP gives crisp, precise points for nesting all of those seam lines together.
Do you have any tips for beginners?
Yes, beginners. So whether or not it's your first quilt, if it's your first FPP or you're a super seasoned pro, two-part answer here. Number one is take it one stitching line at a time. Focus on just one foundation and one block at a time. Don't let yourself get overwhelmed by the finished project. One stitch at a time is the name of the game. I know that's easier said than done, but just don't get overwhelmed. Just take it one block at a time. My second tip for beginners is to use the tools that have been designed to help you succeed. For me, that is my add a quarter plus ruler. The plus ruler is different than the regular add a quarter ruler because it has a beveled edge, which allows me to have super, super sharp folds and precise placement. A 28 millimeter rotary cutter. I prefer a smaller rotary cutter. It's less work in my hands, especially when we're working with small pieces. And a light box with my translucent cutting mat. Those three things I can absolutely not FPP without. I have a full list of tools and supplies in the Dream Star Quilt pattern add-on video. So make sure that you check that out within the add-on video.
That's great. Are there any common mistakes that you see people make when they're doing FPP? And if so, can you share some tips for avoiding those?
Yeah, absolutely. So the most common mistake that I see is removing your foundation papers too soon. I have a portion right here of the Cosmos version of Dream Star actually. And so I'm going to show you what I mean. So to help stabilize your block, which after sewing is now full of bias edges that can easily become distorted by the stretching, you want to leave your papers attached to your fabrics until all sides of the block are surrounded. So in this instance, as the quilt grows, I would go ahead and remove these papers right here because this block is fully surrounded. But I'm going to leave all of the rest of the papers and these edges over here, as well as this edge up here. This really helps to stabilize your block, which after sewing, as I said, is now full of those biased edges. And as that quilt grows, you can remove those papers one section at a time. Your blocks are still in great shape. Your points are preserved, which is the name of the game. And the weight from the paper is coming out of the quilt as it grows. So don't be, concerned that it's going to be super heavy with those papers in. Once they come out and you start removing those papers, you're getting closer and closer to really seeing the whole thing. And it's going to get lighter as you go.
That's a really good tip. I have never made a whole quilt with FPP, so I've always just waited until I was done to take the papers out, but I can see that would really add some weight as you go. So I love that idea of leaving them in around the outside edges. One of the other things I love about the Dream Star quilt is the dramatic star effect that it gives. So tell us a little bit about the design process behind creating that really visual impact.
Oh, I'm so happy you love the star. It was awesome to watch this effect come to life as I was designing. So it really is about the concentric arrangement from the center of the quilt that creates the star design and the color placement that you select for your quilt. The star is actually one block that goes together, and when you join 4 blocks, that's when you start to see the star come out. So with just that one block, you can create virtually an endless number of combinations, to mix and match, play with your color and the contrast. So as that one becomes two, three, four, and then grows, you really start to see that secondary star effect happen.
Yeah, so share some of your tips for color choices and how you place those colors.
Oh, absolutely. So the colors that you select are going to be entirely up to you. The pattern does include coloring pages, so you can make as many design choices as you want. You have the opportunity to play with colors and layouts that reflect your personality and style. And the nice part is all you have to do is make a copy of this coloring page. There's coloring pages for both Cosmos and Galaxy, and you can color as many as you'd like. I would encourage you to hang on to those color layouts as you work. And always start with a fresh one, so then that way you know where you left off, and you never know what you might like on a Monday. It might change by Wednesday. If you do love the colors and the layout featured on the front cover of the pattern, there is a downloadable PDF that is included with the add-on video. I've done the work for you, so you can get to cutting, piecing, and quilting.
That is really awesome. Having a pre-colored layout is so incredibly helpful, especially if using APP or even making a quilt is new to you. So for someone who is a little more adventurous, who's ready to come up with their own design, how do you start deciding on what fabrics you want to use? Where do you begin?
Okay, great question. I start my design process in pretty much every project, whether it's a quilt, a coat, a bag, with the background fabric. The background fabric really sets the stage for the main fabrics to shine. The value, which is how light or dark the color is in your background, will shape the interaction of the main fabrics that are in your final quilt. So main fabrics in your final quilt or in your coat or in your bag. For me, it starts with the background. We are going to talk about color a little bit more later on when we get into the layouts. I don't want to get too deep right now.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure I would have thought of starting with the background, but that does really make good sense. And once the background sets the stage, then you can concentrate on the main fabrics. And it's so much fun to use them to create lots of secondary designs in the quilt. So talk a little bit about that.
Okay, sure. So if you focus on the main fabrics, you are going to see one set of stars. For instance, the main fabrics and the quilt on the screen right now are going to be all of your colors. Those are your main fabrics. So if you look at just those, you're going to start to see that star that has points going up and down and left to right. And then if you switch to focusing on the background fabrics, you're going to reveal another set of stars, which is going to look like a diagonal star. So each block is going to work codependently to give the star shape and to create that nonstop illusion, no matter which part of the quilt that you're taking in. What's fun is that every time I look at it, I see a different star and a different color each time. I can't decide which one I prefer more.
Yeah, that's super fun. And I love that you can totally change the look just by using different fabrics too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where it gets really fun. So in my Cosmos layout, I selected solid fabrics only for my main fabrics. That's going to be my main one and my main two. And that's the quilt that you see hanging on the wall. And then in my Galaxy layout, the heroes really are the motifs and the supporting cast are the main fabrics. So I chose small scale main fabrics in the Galaxy layout that you see on the chair, and you can see those pretty up close. And this is to balance the large scale of the motifs. Those are all the true colors that were released with Full Moon Forest 2 from Tula Pink at Quilt Market 24. So that's what I chose, was something small scale because it really balanced those large scale motifs. So they play together really well.
That's awesome. I love having both of those multiple layout possibilities. I think that's a really great feature of this pattern, but there's more really great things in this pattern. So please talk about those. Actually, let's talk about the layouts first, though.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So let's go layouts, because I know I had kind of said Cosmos and Galaxy, and if you're brand new to Dream Star, you're probably going, what the heck is she talking about? So there are two layout options for the Dream Star quilt. You're going to essentially get two quilts in one. They're the same size, but two different layouts. So the finished size and the shape of the quilt remains the same. It's going to finish at 77 square. Each layout features just one FPP block. Super cool, super straightforward, and really approachable for makers of all levels. So the blocks are labeled in the specific order to piece, as well as the fabric letter that corresponds to your unique color layout. The quilt planning, coloring page, and cutting chart are all going to work together in harmony, setting you up for success when you assemble the foundations. So straightforward, simple, and really satisfying to sew. It's a 1, 2, 3 step process. So Cosmo's layout that you see on the screen now uses 2 main fabric groups. That's a dark and a light plus 1 background fabric. So what I mean by dark and light is I have picked out a dark pink and a light pink, a dark purple and a light purple, and so on and so forth. And then the 1 background fabric, I chose a white background for that quilt. And they stand out because of the rainbow layout of the colors. The eye really travels naturally, and the color is the focus in that version. The Galaxy layout is similar, but it does have a twist. So there's still 2 main fabric groups, and there's 4 background fabrics, ranging from very light, you can see on the perimeter of the quilt, to very dark towards the center of the quilt for a really unique ombre effect. And in the Galaxy layout, you have the added bonus of fussy cut on point motifs. I love a fussy cut motif, so I definitely had to include those.
Yeah, and it's such a great way to feature a focus fabric that has a great motif on it. I really can't get over the fact that 1 simple block is all you use to create such different quilts. And something else that I really appreciate about your patterns, in addition to having 2 layouts in there, is that they are so thorough and complete. It is really obvious that you are an educator at heart. As I read through your pattern, I thought making this is almost like being in class with you. So will you take a minute to discuss all the awesome features that you included in this pattern?
Oh, thank you so much. That really means a lot. You do know that I love to teach. I am really an educator at heart. And if we can't be face to face together, I want you to have a very similar experience as if I'm sitting across the cutting table with you. So the pattern is going to include my FPP steps and techniques. If you are brand new or if you need a refresher, there's a quilt planning page, which is a simple 3-step process to plan your quilt. A coloring page that is fully labeled and customizable for every block or motif in your quilt. A cutting chart, again, fully labeled and customizable. FPP pattern prep and block assembly, and this includes preparing and assembling your foundations. Quilt assembly instructions, these are going to walk you through 1 section at a time, including which direction to press your seams, which is really important in this quilt. A quilt assembly diagram. So if you're like, I'm not much of a reader, but I really want to look at a picture, I've got the quilt assembly there for you, as well as full-size foundations. All you have to do is make the number of copies of each block, and I tell you exactly how many to make. This is, included and instructed in the pattern. And finally, the project labels. I love a project label because I am a total nerd when it comes to staying organized as I work through my project. So you're going to get a Cosmos side of the pattern as well as a Galaxy side of the pattern, and all of that is included on both layouts.
That's awesome. I have to say you are really a woman after my own heart, because labels and cutting layouts are some of the best parts of any pattern, I think. All right, so we've talked about color, we've talked about value. Next, let's talk about fabric. What types of fabrics work especially well for Dream Star?
So quilting cottons or cotton substrates, such as a cotton lawn, are the suggested fabrics for the Dream Star quilt. Just remember, it's a quilt, so stick with your cotton. They're going to behave the same. You can mix and match your cotton lawns with your quilting cottons. You can absolutely FPP with cotton lawn. It is so soft, lightweight, and dreamy all around. I FPP'd with my legendary coat that was in booth at H&H Americas this past May, and it worked incredibly well. I really, really enjoyed it. So in terms of color and style, that is up to your imagination and your personal taste. You really can't go wrong if you're creating with fabrics that you love and that bring you joy. And that's what's most important.
Yeah, I really loved seeing the projects that you made using cotton lawn. I never would have thought to use it in a bag, and I think you used it on the straps on one of your bags. I really bet a quilt made with it would just be luscious. I'd want to eat it. So I really also loved seeing that the Dream Star Quilt could be made with solids or prints, either one. I really love the clean modern look of a quilt that's made with solids, but oh my gosh, it's such a fabulous quilt to feature an amazing fabric too. So if someone's trying to decide between them, how do you choose? Do you have any suggestion? Probably make both.
Make both? I mean, I'm just saying. So my Cosmos version features all solids, and my Galaxy version features all prints. So, I mean, coincidentally, I made both. I personally love a quilt in solids because I think it just explores the opportunity to show off color and quilting. My Cosmos version was custom quilted by Vicky of Orchid Owl Quilts, and the secondary designs that Vicky created within the quilting is just chef's kiss, fabulous. Equally, I love a quilt featuring motifs and prints and choosing an edge-to-edge design that lets the fabric shine and still gives me a luscious quilty texture. My Galaxy version was quilted by Melanie of Quilty Lab Creations, and Melanie's quilted for me several times and has a great eye for selecting quilting designs that balance fabrics and block shapes, as she knows that I love to work with a print. So she really comes forward and suggests great geometric, edge-to-edge designs that really complement those fabrics.
Yeah, and that is a skill. Boy, and they did such a great job on both of them. Those were both just complete showstoppers. And as we said earlier, both of those quilts were made with fabrics by the amazing Tula Pink, who you and I both love working with. We love Tula, we love Free Spirit Fabrics, and shout out to all of our friends there. But what if someone wants to create a quilt with something other than Tula? Do you have some tips for that?
Oh, of course. It's like you said earlier, it's like picking out fabrics is like just eating one potato chip, right? I'm not stopping. I need the whole bag. So of course I need all the fabrics. So truly the sky is the limit. There are so many gorgeous fabrics and talented fabric designers to choose from. So listen to your heart, and pick a fabric in a collection that really suits you, or pick several different collections and blend them all together. When we were in Chicago for H&H, you showed some really awesome models that were made using a new line of fabric by a new designer for In the Beginning Fabrics, and I immediately thought that fabric would make such a great quilt as soon as I saw the animal motifs and the supporting coordinates that went with it.
Yep, for sure. So this is a fabric that is called Woodland Animals. It was designed by Callie Friesen of Quiltberry Farms, and it's Callie's very first line, and we were so tickled to get a chance to work with it. So it includes just the cutest animals in a variety of layouts, as well as some really great coordinating geometrics, some floral prints. You can see she's got big animals, medium animals, she's got animals in triangles, and it was just so much fun to use those. So I was going to just open this up a little bit and show you. So here's some of the big ones, here's the medium-sized ones, and here's the triangles. So talk a little bit, Elissa, about how you would go about using these fabrics in a quilt.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I'm so happy you have them too, and we can see them on screen. The large animal motifs in this collection would be great in the Galaxy version of the Dream Star Quilt, because it gives you an opportunity to focus on those large motifs, and the art and the colors. Like, it is a really cool pattern that Callie's put in there, that make up those animals, all those different colors. They almost look like they're FPP. They are so cool. So I would start by selecting, your favorites in those motif positions to help build the quilt layout. My favorites are the hedgehog. I love a hedgehog. The owl, the fox, and the otter. Yeah. So if I'm going to pick 4 and mix and match those, and there's 13 positions in Galaxy, so you can mix and match those, but those would be my 4 favorites. And then based on that,
but if you wanted 13, you could do 13.
And how many times I wanted to. Oh, 100%. Or if you were like, I just really like that, Yeah, if you liked like just the bear, for instance, you could repeat the bear over and over and over again. It's totally up to you.
Got it. Okay.
So
Sorry to
I
interrupt.
decide how many I wanted to do, and then no, I love that you said that, because you can go 13, you can go 4. I mean, however you want to get there, totally up to you.
Okay.
And I like that they're different sizes. Also, you wouldn't have to pick just that large motif. You could fussy cut, some of the small triangle ones and make a secondary, pattern inside of that. You could do the medium sized ones and build sashing and use the sashing around that. So there's lots of different options. Um, so based upon however I cut it and however I decided, then I would build the color story out from there. Again, I'd start with the center of the quilt for the color placement, as that's where the eye is drawn, and I would use the supporting coordinates in the collection for the main 1 and main 2 fabric groupings. Because remember, you're going to select 2 main fabric groupings. I really liked the flowers, the fractals, and the dots. They were really good base for these coordinates when I was looking through the collection. And a fun twist would be to use the green check for the entire background on the quilt versus 4 background colors. Just because it says you have to use 4 doesn't mean you have to use 4. You could do it all in 1, you could do it in 2. Anything else than that, you're going to have to do some quilty math there. But this is where you put your coloring sheet to work. And the best way to test out the ideas in your head is in the planning. And that's really where the discovery is, and in the coloring of the quilt. So yeah, very cute collection.
Yeah, man, that would be a fabulous quilt. I actually think Callie might be working on a Dream Star quilt using these, so it's going to be really fun to see what she puts together if she gets to it. Callie is going to be our guest on Live with Annie in February when this fabric hits the stores, so be sure to join us then to learn more. And I have to say, I don't think I would have thought about using this fabric for this quilt. So share some ideas for how you go to look for fabrics for ideas for this.
Yeah, so 2 things to keep in mind here. Number 1, and this starts with your planning stage, is to really consider the version of the quilt that you want to create. And then you can go on the fabric discovery journey. Second point is, if you find fabrics you absolutely fall in love with, let those fabrics help you decide which version of the quilt to create. I'm sure that many of us are very familiar with walking into a quilt shop, immediately being struck with fabrics that we love and saying, I have no idea what I'm going to make with that, but I'll take 5 yards of everything. So don't limit yourself to a collection of fabric, or a type of fabric. Think of different things that you might be celebrating, or the season you want to create for. Maybe it's a holiday, maybe you have a favorite color, maybe it's a gift for someone. But that's really where I start. Either one of the layouts is going to strike you, or you have a fabric that's going to strike you, and let that speak to you.
That's a super good idea. I could definitely see this quilt made for every season, because there's so many ways you could do with that. You could do a white background with pastel colors for spring. Maybe you have a sunflower print that you could do for the Galaxy one and mix some colors with that for summer. I could see a black background with jewel tones for fall. Maybe I do the background scrappy and blues, and do your stars in white for winter. So many ways you could go with it. So do you have some tips for how to make the design really pop no matter what colors you're using?
Well, now I need to make 4 quilts because you just gave me a whole bunch of ideas. But yeah, so to make the design pop, you're going to focus on the value, which is the lightness or darkness of a color, in order to create your contrast. So regardless of which layout you're doing, you really want to think about the value first. So low volume backgrounds are going to give you a softer, more subtle effect, which is going to be the quilt on the left. Think whites, creams, light grays, for instance. And high volume background fabrics are going to give you a more intense, vibrant background. Darker colors here, black, very dark gray, and medium gray. I did not change the fabric placement at all between main 1 and main 2 fabrics. They're the identical fabrics and the identical placement, but you can see that the quilts look completely different just because of a background decision. So to create the contrast and saturation, which is how pure or intense a color is, I selected 1 set of fabrics in a variety of darker colors, as I touched on a little bit earlier. Dark purple, dark pink, dark blue, dark green. And then the second set of main fabrics in a variety of lighter colors. So stayed within the same color family, just chose a softer, lighter, version to complement. For instance, in the Cosmos versions, I have those low value solids next to high value solids. So if you're going to be looking at it like possibly doing a scrappy version, for instance, as you had talked about earlier, just go ahead and play with those. It doesn't necessarily have to mean that one is a lighter shade than the other if you're doing something scrappy. You just want to make sure that you have fabrics that are going to complement and contrast between each other.
I love those ideas. Thank you. I'm going to have to make a quilt one of these days too. I bet this would be a good quilt for using scraps from your stash too, wouldn't it? I mean, what do you think about making a scrappy version?
I think that'd be awesome. I mean, I can literally, like, I'm glancing over at my scrap wall right now and I'm thinking, yeah, because the secondary pattern of the star is going to reveal itself, I would suggest that you keep the background consistent and then use scrappy colors in your main fabric groupings. So if you're like me and you have all your scraps, organized in rainbow version, if I'm going to do a dark background, let's say I'm going to do a medium gray, I could reach into my pile of all my pinks and my reds and select from there all of my oranges, all of my yellows, my greens, and so on and so forth. But the background is really going to give your quilt balance. And that's what's going to bring all the scrappiness of it together. The fabrics don't have to be, exact from one to the other. So you can absolutely work from your stash and your scraps. Another idea.
Yeah, I can see you and I are both going to be busy here. And using a consistent background fabric is a really good tip because I love the look of scrappy quilts, but I always struggle with how to combine that big variety of fabrics. So having one consistent gives you the option to do that a little bit more. So can you give us some tips for choosing a color palette, whether it's scrappy or not? How do you go about that?
So for me, you're familiar with the way that I color and the way that I work, but I really do live in the land of tertiary colors, and I love a rainbow layout. This is a personal choice that just makes my heart happy. Essentially, tertiary is one primary color and one secondary color that are combined together. Two primary schools of thought that I have when it comes to color: rainbow, as I mentioned, which is my preferred, which is the use of many colors. It's really visually, pleasing and appealing. It's bright and fun, doesn't have any rules, and I don't have to play favorites in choosing, just one color. And then also monochromatic would be the other way that I would go about choosing a palette. And that's the use of one color. This can be subtle or dramatic. It is arguably more challenging, palette to master between the two because you really do have to put a lot of thought into it. But once, it kind of clicks, then it's incredibly gorgeous. So I love to see, quilts that are done in monochromatic versions, red and white quilts, blue and white quilts, different shades of, black and, blacks and grays and all in there. So really beautiful. When in doubt, take a peek at your color chart, consult your color chart for inspiration, and use the temperature of your colors to help set your mood. So as we're looking at the chart here, warm are your fire colors, for instance. That is going to range from yellow to red, purple on the wheel. And then your cool colors are your water colors, and that's going to be your dark purple to your yellow green on the wheel. There are no rules when it comes to color. Choose fabrics that light you up, that make you really, really happy. But if you're struggling and you're not sure where to start, this is an easy way to reference and just kind of let it guide you as you're making your color selections.
Thank you. Those are some really good suggestions. If someone is getting ready to start this project, what advice do you have for them?
So I think that every great project really starts with a plan. I'm a planner, I know. So the first step is to read your patterns, right? Read your pattern. It really doesn't take a ton of time. I promise. There's more pictures and more opportunities to color and have fun in here, in Dream Star than there is words to be reading. But then you do know the setup, so that way you can plan which layout and what fabrics and colors you want to incorporate. So page 1 of the pattern is really your map, like your roadmap for success for moving forward. I provide you with an order of operations, from your general instructions from your planning to your preparation. So it's your roadmap. The add-on video is also great. We had a ton of fun making this add-on video, and I just think it turned out really fantastically. So watch the video after you've read the pattern. This is going to be your second pass at looking at what you just read, and it is now familiar to you so that you don't feel overwhelmed when you get started. Then really, quite frankly, you're ready to jump in and just get going.
Which is awesome. So I have to say, one thing that really impressed me when we worked together on the Bella Quilt Coat and expansion pack last fall was how efficiently you work and how you organize everything for a project. So that's what I want to talk about next. So first, let's start talking about cutting. You have some really great tips for making that quick and easy. So tell it all.
Okay. You're right. I do love to plan a project. So for cutting efficiently is to work smart, not hard. Use the customizable cutting chart that is provided for you in the pattern. I like to stack my fabrics in the order that they appear in the chart, so I'm organized and I have a clear head about how many of each fabric that I'm going to be cutting, and then I can work through my cutting chart really one fabric at a time, just grabbing right off the top of that stack. I like to use sandwich baggies to store my fabric groups. Once I finished cutting, there's just something really satisfying about organizing it one step further. And my favorite ruler for subcutting is the Stripology ruler. In particular, I really like the Stripology extra large ruler the best. Oh, there it is. Awesome.
There it is.
You can see that this ruler, is really, so it's already slotted for you, so that I'm ready to cut the strip of fabric, accurately, and I don't have to reposition my ruler for each piece. So what I mean by that is if I'm cutting a strip that's, with the fabric, I can lay it down underneath these slots, and all I have to do is move my rotary cutter and not the actual ruler. So this saves me a ton of time, so I don't have to reposition my ruler for each piece. When you're repositioning your ruler, it can cause your fabric to shift, and that really does cost you a lot more time than you think in the long run. So if you don't have one yet, or if you haven't, had an opportunity to work with the Stripology ruler, I really do think they're a game changer. And this is coming from someone who is an incredibly slow cutter, fast piecer, but very slow cutter. So it's definitely come to my advantage.
Yeah, I agree. I think these rulers are fabulous. They really do take a lot of effort out of cutting, especially when you're cutting the same thing repeatedly. The other amazing tip that you shared was organizing the pieces for FPP, putting them in the sandwich bag. Smart idea. But then when you're ready to do a block, the way you organize them, I had never seen anyone else do that before, and it made so much sense to me. So please share that technique with everybody too.
Yeah, so this was super fun. I was actually just teaching, and someone was finishing up their accent sleeves, and they had all sorts of, piles of fabric laid out on the table. So I want to explain what I call stack and sort. So it's a similar process as cutting. You're going to prepare the foundations first of all, as instructed in the pattern. I tell you how many copies of each foundation you need to complete the layout of your choice. Then as I make copies of each foundation, I'm going to keep them together with a sewing clip to stay organized. After I made all my copies, then all I have to do is prep the cutting of the foundations. Take it one group of foundations at a time, attach the cutting labels, and you're going to stack and sort those in order. So I have already cut them. Now I've stacked them, block A, block B, do that over and over and over. So those are ready to go. I'm going to stick those in a project bag, and then they're ready for my quilt top assembly when it's ready to go together. So when it comes to organizing my fabrics for FPP, I also use stack and sort. And stack and sorting for your fabrics is the order that you will piece your foundation. So what I mean by this is you are going to place your first piece of fabric right side down on your workspace. Then stack the next fabric right side down on top of the first fabric. You're going to continue to stack all of your fabrics for your foundation. Then it's just as simple as turning the stacks of fabric over so that piece number one is on the top. Grab your foundation that's already in order, and you're ready to sew. You can literally take an entire stack of fabrics. They could be 100 deep, and an entire stack of, foundations, whether it's 8, 16, 24, 52, however, it doesn't matter. You can take all that to your sewing machine. You don't have to remember what comes next because it's ready for you with some really simple prep and organization. And you can find a downloadable PDF with my FPP expansion pack add-on videos that goes over exactly what that means in stack and sort and how to do that. Since I know that was a lot that just came, out of my mouth. So we put it there for, as a PDF for you. So that way you can print it off, You know, keep it with your patterns, and then you have it anytime you need to reference it.
That's awesome. Yeah, the beauty of having everything for that block organized too is that you could have 2 or 3 blocks out there and you could chain piece as you go, which is a real time saver, unless you mess up and grab the wrong piece. So do you have any tips for staying accurate and on track throughout the whole project?
Yes, so yet again, here's me organizing a project. But honestly, the provided project labels are really key here. They're included with your printed pattern as well as in the add-on video. So make sure that you preserve your pattern, make a copy of these, and then cut them apart, and then you can attach them to everything as you move forward. If you really stay committed to staying organized as you work, it really is enjoyable, satisfying quilt to sew. So I really do encourage you, whether or not, you think you're the most organized piece or, in the world, or most organized project maker, these will come in really handy. So give it a shot, even if you've never tried them before.
Yeah, I think so too. I always thought I was really organized, but you taught me some really good skills, so thank you. One thing I don't think we've talked about very much, you did talk a little bit about pressing, but I was super impressed when I read through the pattern that it included tips for each block and each row, which direction to press. I thought that was just super helpful.
Oh, good. I'm so happy. So I have provided really clear pressing instructions, and these go row by row for you in the pattern. And again, this is where reading your pattern is really important. There's no guesswork on pressing or assembling your quilt. It's going to come together one row and then one section at a time. And I tell you, which direction to press each row. So that way, nesting those seams and getting those super precise points, no guesswork. I've already done it for you.
Yeah, for sure. And before you know it, you've got a finished quilt. So before we move on, can we take a minute for a show and tell of some of the alternate colorways for Dream Star that you suggest or that you've come up with?
Ooh, yes, I would love to. So these are examples where I have stayed consistent with my main fabric groups, but I have changed the background from low to medium to high volume and rearranged where the colors land. So playing with color is arguably one of my favorite parts of the planning process, and each one has a totally different feel. So Cosmos, let's take a look at the Cosmos version first. This version has no motifs. As a reminder, it is FPP blocks only. So in this first set of quilts, you can see the layout I ultimately selected on the Cosmos quilt that you see on the cover of the pattern. That's the one on the far left. The fabrics do not change as we move through these, only the background selection. So from left to right, we have a low volume, and this is the quilt that is hanging in the Dream Star pattern cover, medium volume and high volume for contrast. And in this second set of quilts, I used the same fabric selections, but changed where they appear in the quilt. So again, from left to right, there's a low volume, medium volume, and high volume fabric. You can really see how the background color and the color placement change the look and feel of the quilt. So that was Cosmos. So now let's look at the Galaxy version of the Dream Star quilt. This version has 13 motif positions, as we talked about earlier, and surrounded by just one FPP block. So the first Galaxy version of quilts features the Fabric Collection Gray Work by Tula Pink. The quilt on the left, this is the quilt that is on the chair on the pattern cover, has a dark center background that becomes lighter as you move to the perimeter of the quilt. The quilt on the right that you see on the screen has a light center background that becomes darker as you move outward. So both quilts feature different motifs in the designated positions, and I chose these based on the background color at that specific point in the quilt. The second version here that we're going to pop up features Prince Charming, Deja Vu by Tula Pink for Free Spirit Fabrics. The quilt on the left has a dark center background that gets lighter, and the quilt on the right has a light center background that gets darker. So this quilt, I featured only one motif, so that Frog Prince, and he is in all of the 13 positions throughout the quilt. And finally, the third version that I have mocked up for you here features the new Legendary collection by Tula Pink for Free Spirit Fabrics. that will arrive in quilt shops in October of 2026. And I changed this one up a bit in this layout, and I went for a range of solid colors as my backgrounds, and then these ombre in partnership with the main fabric groupings. So it doesn't necessarily go dark to light or light to dark, but I work with solids. So the quilt on the left has a lavender center background that moves outward to a soft yellow. And the quilt on the right starts with a soft mint in the center and moves outward towards lavender. The main fabric groupings I selected in their placement really do complement the backgrounds, but I worked with the exact same set of main one and main fabric groupings. The motifs are the exact same for each quilt. However, the positioning for each has changed. So I used all four of those exact, motifs side by side. So here are some close-up shots during the quilting process that shows the Cosmos versions of the Dream Star quilt. And I really loved the unique quilting and each of the color blocking. That was so sharp. And again, this is why I do not long arm, because my brain just doesn't think that way. But I'm so thankful that there are talented long armers out there that do. And so here are some close-up shots of the quilting process that show the Galaxy version. You can really see the small scale main fabrics here. And remember that Galaxy is the one that features the motifs in this layout that you can see. So lots of fun.
Lots of fun. Yeah, and it's really amazing how different the quilt looks just by picking different colors. And again, that it's made with just one block. I love that it's so very doable. So that covers the quilt, but that's not all we have to talk about today, because Elissa has also designed something for garment makers, especially fans of the Bella Quilt Coat. So Elissa, tell us a little bit about the Bella Hood expansion pack and what inspired you to create it.
Sure. So the inspiration for this was super simple. I love a hood and I wanted one on my jacket.
I completely agree. I love a hood too. And I don't think you and I are alone, because I recall seeing lots of customers over the past year since you released the Bella Coat saying, "Where's a hood? I want a hood." So yeah, it was a popular request.
Yes, it sure was. I was really excited to see how many people really wanted a hood for their coats. And I really, truly wanted to meet the needs of makers that have been so incredibly supportive of my Bella Quilt Coat and the accompanying expansion pack. So a hood it was.
It had. Well, I seem to recall that one of the first versions of your coat you made with a hood, didn't you? Had you done hoods before? How did that idea evolve?
Yeah, you have a really good memory. I absolutely did include a hood on one of the first versions I ever made of my Bella Quilt Coat, which was way back from the Everglow collection. I included a hood on that one, so I knew that at some point it needed to join the Bella family of patterns. I had also previously, created hooded shirts, jackets, and vests for my kids, so I set out to work to complement the existing coat pattern with a hood.
Smart. So we might need to go back a little bit before we get too far, because some people might not be familiar with the Bella Quilt Coat. So can you briefly talk about that original pattern?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're brand new, I'm excited to introduce you. So the Bella Quilt Coat is a relaxed fit quilted jacket. It has two silhouettes that you can create. View A, shown on the left in this picture, has a contrasting yoke front, back, and collar, as well as contrasting sleeves and optional accent sleeves. View B, which is shown on the right, is an opportunity to showcase a single fabric and is the quicker option of the two to sew for sure. Neither is overly complicated, but view B is definitely a little bit quicker. So the jacket is fully lined with set-in sleeves. It has inseam pockets, a zippered front closure featuring our ByAnnie 50-inch separating zipper, and it has a sporty collar that can stand up or it can fold down. There's no binding in the jacket. It's designed to be quilted and constructed on a domestic sewing machine.
Yeah, the other thing I really love about the Bella Quilt Coat pattern is that you designed it in a variety of sizes. And I know that there are some people that get a little bit confused about the sizes. So can you talk a bit about those and explain what the size numbers mean that are on the quilt pattern?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Bella Quilt Coat is available in a range of 10 sizes, and you're going to see that size range on the back of your pattern. So this does not mean what size am I when I go and buy something off the rack. The size range of the Bella Quilt Coat is based on actual body measurements of each individual maker. This is called made to measure. So this is a made to measure garment. So reference the chart on the back cover of the pattern for the actual body measurements. I have included design and wearing ease in the pattern for you. So in season 5, episode 14, we did a really deep dive on the Bella Quilt Coat, and we talked really extensively about measurements and fit. So I really do encourage everyone, if you haven't watched that episode yet, to go ahead and visit that or revisit that for some really great information, because we're going to answer all your questions about sizing and fit and how you measure and where you measure and all of those things.
Yeah, for sure. And I have to say, I had a whole lot of fun making myself some Bella Quilt Coats last fall. And I'm really excited about the option of adding a hood to at least one or two of them. And that's one thing that I really love about this new pattern, is that it has multiple hood options. So talk about those.
Oh yeah, you and me both. So having two hoods creates totally different looks. And it keeps it fresh each time I create a coat. So since the patterns are modular, you can mix and match your design choices each time you sew. So the starter pattern, that's where you're going to get started. That is kind of like your home base. That's your foundation, is the Bella Quilt Coat. So it is required if you want to add a hood to your coat, whether it's the attached hood or the removable hood. You need to start with the Bella Quilt Coat as your home base.
All right, so let's talk first about the attached hood. Tell us a little bit about how someone would go about adding it to a coat that they want to make.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can see the attached hood right behind me here on this coat. So if you're creating a brand new Bella Quilt coat, the attached hood replaces the collar, so no collar with your attached hood. And this makes for a really clean, integrated look. The silhouette is modern, it's beautifully tailored. There's no zipper guard in this style, and this allows the separating zipper to rest just below the neckline for maximum comfort and a polished finish.
Yeah, I really love the look of that hood, but I've already made 3 coats. So that's where the removable hood is really an ideal situation. So how does that one work?
Yeah, so the removable hood, I'm going to grab one right here. I've got one sitting behind me. It can easily be added to a new or existing Bella Quilt coat, so you can adapt your style at any time. So the hood is attached with the ByAnnie's tool-free snaps in 3 secure locations, making it easy to add or remove whenever you'd like. So if you're making a new coat and you want a removable hood, you have the option to leave off the zipper guard. You can see in this coat, I've left the zipper guard off, so no zipper guard in this one. And this allows the collar greater flexibility to fold down really beautifully at the neckline.
That's really nice. And I love having both of those options, but you didn't stop there. No, no, no. You kept going. So talk about some of the other ways that makers can make the coat and the hood really unique and personal.
Yes, so naturally I wanted options. I love a design choice, and I really felt the hood needed to be attached and removable so that it was easily adaptable for makers that had already created their quilt. But when it comes to different looks and uses, both the attached hood and the removable hood are in 2 different silhouettes. So view A is created from a contrasting fabric on both sides of the hood. Well, let's talk about view B first. So view B is on the screen here. So view B, this is your classically styled quilted hood. This showcases a single outer main fabric for the sides of the hood and the center panel. And I have to say, this coat just looks smashing on Glow. Like it was just meant
made
for
for
her.
her.
Like the colors just, I mean, just absolutely. She looks fabulous. Absolutely. And then view A is created from contrasting fabric on both sides of the hood and a coordinating fabric, or FPP, as you can see here. So don't worry, for both the attached and the removable hood styles, you can pair the Bella Accent Sleeves FPP expansion pack, which is sold separately, to transform the hood center panel. So you can see that in these sleeves here. I've got just a very simple Bella accent sleeve here, and then I also used it right in the hood. So they're completely interchangeable, completely modular. I want my patterns to work for me, and I want to have multiple uses for them. So I figured a lot of other people would also.
Yep, that is for sure. And I saw some amazing photos from your pattern testers who made it, before we released the patterns. So let's shine a spotlight on some of them for a minute. Can you show us some pictures of things they did?
Oh, yeah, I absolutely would love to. So I had fantastic testers. They were so excited to bring this, to life, and really gave some really great feedback, which is, the pattern that hopefully most of you have in front of you today. And if you don't, um, they were really essential to the process. So everyone did a beautiful job with their coats, really showing off their creativity and personal style. So let's go through those. So we're going to start with the makers that use the attached hood. So Susan A created a View A coat and included the Bella accent sleeves in both her jacket and in the center panel of her hood. Susan used the Botany collection from Moda. I specifically asked her about this collection because I just thought it made a gorgeous jacket. The colors are really romantic, and the FPP is really nice and subtle touch to show off the prints. Claudia K created a View A Bella Quilt Coat in purple watercolors and used a coordinating fabric in the center panel of her attached hood and in the sleeves, and it really just pulled the whole look together. Diana H created a View B Bella Quilt Coat and added some fun gold piping accents to the center panel and the zipper closure. This is not included in the pattern, but as you can see, you can add these details if you have the existing skills to do it. I thought it was really clever and very fashion forward. Michelle H created her Barbie themed View B Bella Quilt Coat with the attached hood, and she decked out her outfit with various shades of pink, from her scarf to her sunglasses and her handbag. It was so cute. That's a girl after my heart, totally on a theme. So now for the makers that use the removable hood. Ashley M created a View A and included the Bella accent sleeves in both her jacket and in the center panel of her removable hood, as well as adding the Bella Arcs and Beauties expansion pack to her coat. She even lined it with Tula Pink Minky from the Grey Work collection. So she is going to be all set when that cool weather rolls in. Christina C created the View B jacket and let the fabric do the talking with big, beautiful florals. You can see how easy it is to change your look by adding and removing the hood. In the picture on the left, she has the hood attached. In the center picture, it is completely removed. And then in the picture on the right, it's back on and up. So View B is a perfect choice to show off your favorite fabrics for sure. Tracy B created a View A, and she included all of the bells and whistles in this jacket. The Bella accent sleeves in both her jacket and in the center panel of her removable hood, as well as the Bella Arcs and Beauties, and lots of applique. Tracy lined her jacket with one of the Freefall 108-inch cotton sateen colorways from Tula Pink also, which, as you know, is one of my favorite ways to line a jacket. I love those sateens. Stephanie B created this beautiful View B Bella Quilt Coat. I really enjoyed the drama in this look, showcasing the fabric, very monochromatic. She also lined her jacket in a Tula Pink 108-inch cotton sateen. She chose one from the Grey Work collection, and that little pop of color is a fun touch to really, bring life to that monochromatic look. Michelle K created a View A and included the Bella accent sleeves in both her jacket and in the center panel of her hood. Michelle also used a Tula Pink 108-inch cotton sateen, and she selected one from the Curiouser and Curiouser collection. It made me really sad that I had used up all of that wide back, because as soon as I saw it with these colors, I immediately thought, I have to find more of that. So great. Now I'm on a fabric hunt, but great job, Michelle. I really liked seeing that. Linda R created her View A Bella Quilt Coat, and she used the Bella accent sleeves on her sleeves and in the removable hood center pattern. I truly enjoyed how the main fabric of her coat really set the color story. She actually selected something busier on her yoke, which I just thought was great, to switch up that look. It really looks great with and without the hood. So I really appreciated that that placement of fabric. Joanna B created her View A jacket with a coordinating fabric in the center panel of her hood and her sleeves. She included the Bella Arcs and Beauties on the back of her jacket, and she lined hers with a Tula Pink 108 cotton sateen from the Untamed collection. Joanna lengthened the jacket for her daughter, and I loved this. Her daughter is also her model. I really loved seeing this one come together. So you can see that there's lots of different options, and that added length. I thought that was super fun. And finally, Jessica G, she created an absolutely over-the-top View A Bella Quilt Coat. She used the Bella Accent Sleeves expansion pack in her sleeves and the center panel of her hood. She also used the Bella Arcs and Beauties expansion pack, and she included loads of applique and embroidery embellishments. Jessica lined her coat with the Tula Pink 108 cotton sateen from the Untamed collection. And I have to tell you what, I've seen this one in person and it just totally knocked my socks off. So hats off to everyone. Huge, big thank you and shout out to all my pattern testers. I really appreciated everything that you brought to this pattern, and I couldn't have done it without you. So thank you so much.
Yeah, man, those were amazing to see. I loved seeing how many options there are for designing a coat that really reflects your own style. So thank you for showing all those. Did you face any design challenges when you were trying to create a hood that would integrate really well with the Bella coat?
Yeah, so I did. Believe it or not, necklines on garments are one of the trickier spots to get right when considering design. Our necks don't grow at the same rate as the rest of our torso and the rest of our body. So when it comes to drafting and grading pattern pieces that deal with a neckline, it really takes a lot of patience and a lot of prototypes to get just the right size, shape, and proportion. So I had really good feedback during that process. And even though it was a lot of prototypes, I am so incredibly pleased with the final results on both the attached and the removable hoods. So yeah.
Yeah, they turned out fabulously, and you really did a good job of making it look good. To create a hood that would fit well and also be flattering to whoever's wearing it. It's not just like a big something sitting up there. Looks
yeah. well, thank you. So both hood designs have a 3-piece construction, and this is really like a refined streamline look. And this, is going to provide your shape. So it has really excellent shape, contour, and the fit. So it really does look as good as it feels because it follows the natural contours of your head. Hoods that have a 2-piece construction can create kind of that like pointy thing at the top of the hood, which I personally don't care for. I wanted the hood to be as flattering in the finished shape as possible when worn up or worn down. And proportion is also really important to me. So I went through a lot of prototypes, as I mentioned, so that the hood wasn't too tight, also so that it wasn't too oversized and unflattering on the wearer. And both hoods needed to be really comfortable when they're worn fully zipped or unzipped. So that was, that was really important too, was making sure that once I was landing on prototypes that I was happy in terms of the shape and the size, that we could take the coat zipped all the way up and that, we still had good range of motion and good movement. And you didn't feel, all cramped in, or that your hood was flying all over the place.
Yeah, comfort is so important. So what were some of the things that you had to take into consideration to make sure that a hood is comfortable to wear? What goes into that?
So I wanted it to follow just like the Bella Quilt Coat. And by that, I mean that we have a single lining fabric. So one lining fabric, just like your coat. There are no raw edges. The hood is fully lined and there's no binding. My favorite lining still remains a cotton sateen. It feels great against my skin. And on the removable hood, your tool-free snaps are really lightweight and have a very low profile, so they don't add bulk to the hood or the coat, which was really important because I didn't want to add extra stuff, around our neck. I wanted this to be as comfortable as possible.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. And it's really nice to be able to just snap that hood on or take it off. I loved seeing the pictures of the people wearing the coat without it there. You couldn't tell that anything was missing, and then putting it back on and having it fit on there so well. So you also put a lot of thought into making sure that all the work that makers put into that coat shows. And I'd like you to talk a little bit about that, because I'm not sure I would have thought of that.
Yeah. So, and this was something I learned way back in the beginning when I made my very first coat. So I wanted to be really cautious on the finished size of the hood as it rests down the back of the body. I didn't want to cover up all of that work that makers had put into their coat if they were incorporating the Bella Arcs and Beauties, the FPP expansion pack. Obviously we can take up as much applique as we want, make it as large as we want or as small as we want. But to the best of my ability, I wanted to make sure that we didn't cover up that work. The hood is a complement to all of the rest of that. And so I just wanted to make sure I was really mindful of that.
Yeah, that was really a good consideration. You just thought of everything, which I love. So what are some of the techniques or tips that are going to help sewists really achieve a professional looking result when they make this project?
Okay, so the basics. And I promise you garments are really like so much fun, truly. So if you're brand new to garment making, like come on in. They're a ton of fun. So the first step in planning is going to start with the fabric. The suggested fabrics for the Bella Quilt Coat and the Bella Hood are light to medium weight quilting cottons for the exterior of the coat and the hood. And for the lining of the jacket, my preferred choice is a 108-inch wide sateen. Again, go back to that season 5, episode 14. We really talked a lot about lining and different options and different possibilities. But I designed the patterns to be quilted and sewn on domestic sewing machine, which really makes it accessible to anyone with a basic sewing machine.
That's awesome. Another thing I really like about it is that it has that really streamlined look. I don't look like I'm wearing a quilt wrapped around me. So what are some of your tips for reducing that really bulky quilt wearing look?
The biggest way to reduce bulk in your coat is to choose really high quality batting. My preferred batting is Quilter's Dream Bamboo. And I like this batting because it has a really beautiful drape. The loft is just right. I've tried many types of batting and just found that my jacket hung really nicely while I was wearing it, and it allowed me to move the most comfortably when I'm using a bamboo. Windline 100% bamboo is also a great choice. And I believe this is what you used in your Bella jackets, which have a beautiful drape and look smashing on you.
Yes, that is what I used, because when I got ready to sew, no one in town had any of them other than that one. So we said, well, let's give it a try. And yeah, we were really happy with how that worked. So that was good. So another technique that you've incorporated into these patterns that really I think helps give it a really professional look is top stitching. So share some tips for doing that, because that makes such a difference when it's done well.
Oh, sure. So I do prefer a little bit of a longer stitch in my top stitch. Generally, this is going to be in the range of 3.0 to 3.4 millimeters, depending on my substrate. This is not hard and fast. It's just my personal preference. Use the top stitch length that you prefer. But I do find that just that smidge of a longer top stitch allows me to control that stitch, especially as I'm going over bulkier areas. And it just gives a really refined finish. So that's my preferred.
Great idea. All right. And of course, we can't talk about a coat without talking about closures. So talk a little bit about these awesome ByAnnie separating zippers.
My favorite separating zipper on the planet. So on the Bella Quilt Coat, we're going to use a ByAnnie 50-inch separating zipper. These zippers are really lightweight. They are so simple to shorten. They're easy to sew. And we've included an extra signature ByAnnie oversized zipper pull in your package. And they're available in the 14 colors that match all of the ByAnnie mesh and the fold over elastic. ByAnnie 50-inch separating zippers are what is called a standard right insert. That means that we hold the insertion pin in our right hand when we are wearing the garment, and that gets inserted into the retaining box. And then we can pull up the zipper with our right hand.
Yes. I am super excited to have separating zippers as part of our line. And one thing that I want to mention is we made them 50 inches long because not everyone is as short as I am. I only need half of this zipper. But we wanted someone who was 6 feet 3 to be able to always have enough zipper to get their coat done. And so they're going to work for people of all heights. And that extra pull is in there so that if you have zipper tape left over, which you most likely will, you can use it for another project. So if you have any questions about shortening the zipper or adding a slide, we filmed videos with lots of tips for those, and all you have to do to access those is go to the product page for the separating zippers at our website, and you'll see the videos there. I was also excited to see that you used our tool-free snaps on the hood. So talk a little bit about those too.
So on the Bella hood, you only need one package of the ByAnnie tool-free snaps. And don't forget your ByAnnie Extra Sharp Awl, because not all awls, that's a mouthful, are created equal. So make sure that you have that for your removable hood also. The snaps are really easy to install. They don't require any special equipment. You install them by hand. They're super quick and honestly incredibly simple to use. They're available in nickel, antique brass, and black metal. And Annie, you'll laugh at this. You know that normally my go-to is nickel, but I cannot stop using the antique brass. Like,
That's
it is
hilarious.
very quickly become one of my favorite. Yeah, and it's so funny because it goes with everything and I can't unsee it. So I just thought you'd get a kick out of that. The product page for the snaps, I should include to make sure that I mention this. They have video tutorials showing how to use the snaps and the awl as well.
Yes, for sure. We're not going to go into all of that today because those videos are there for you to watch, but they are super helpful. And yes, they're super easy to put in, and it's so nice not to have a special press to do that. Well, it has been such a treat, too, to see all the wonderful Bella Quilt Coats that people have made just since fall, really, when the pattern came out. Each one of them that's in the group that I've seen has been so unique and wonderful. So can you talk about some of the ways that sewists can make this project their own?
Oh my gosh, I would love to. So you were talking about the group. So in my Quilting Elissa Patterns Makers group, people have just been sharing like the most gorgeous, beautiful, making me go, I never thought of that, inspiring, pieces of wearable art. So I've really been blown away by the creativity in this community when it comes to their coats. So I want to shine a little bit of a spotlight on some of those. So in terms of thinking outside of the box, Ernestine J made a View A, and she really went outside of the box. She used the accompanying FPP expansion packs. But this is what made it really unique. She used the Bella accent sleeves on her coat, and she used it on the fronts to make those arrows that you see that are moving up and down. And then she included some improv applique on the top and bottom of those. And there's like really great symmetry left to right in that coat. She also used the Bella Arcs and Beauties, but she used it on her sleeves and she used it on the back of her coat. She also added length to her coat using the lines indicated on the pattern pieces. And that's where that 50-inch separating zipper is going to come in handy, right? She could make it longer because the zipper allowed her to go long. It was really my pleasure to meet her at H&H Americas this past May. And I got to see this knockout coat in person. I saw her coming way down the aisle and I was absolutely blown away. So it was really a treat to get to visit with her and ooh and ah all over her gorgeous coat. So makers have also been getting really creative with fabric and using fabric panels on the front and backs of their coats. One panel in particular by Dan Morris called Bohemian Sunrise has been very popular. And you will see that no two coats are the same. Jeannie S made a View A and complemented her coat using the Bella Accent Sleeves FPP expansion pack. I also really loved the quilting on this jacket. It makes the contrasting fabric have so much movement. This was her second Bella Quilt Coat that she made using a panel. She really is a panel master. It made me look at panels completely different. Elaine H made this View A jacket for her best friend. of 40 years. And she made this during a Bella Quilt Coat workshop at her local quilt shop this past spring with me. And Elaine said, Jessica and the shop staff at Pins and Needles helped me select the perfect color palette for this project. If my bestie's interested, I also plan to add a hood using the new Bella hood pattern from Quilting Elissa. And for me, as the educator during the workshop, it was so much fun to watch this coat come to life in real time. There's Elaine actually putting her coat together in class. So it was super fun to see the final project. And this is Darlene M's third Bella Quilt Coat. And Darlene showcased her panel on the back of her view bead coat. Coordinate fabric on the accent sleeves was actually from the bottom border of the fabric panel. And Darlene said, what a wonderful pattern, easy to understand and with videos too. Can't ask for more than that. I really enjoyed her extra applique detail on the front of her coat up there by the collar. Her lining in the zipper color really made for great contrast with the exterior fabric as well. And then for decorative stitching, this one really stood out to me. Susan M created a View A coat, and she leveled up her Bella Quilt Coat with the Bella Accent Sleeves expansion pack, and she used stacked stitches on her serger instead of quilting. All of those stitches that you see were actually done on her serger. And I just never would have thought of that. Susan said that her coat was inspired by Gail Yellen, and it really has made me think about taking a deeper dive into my own serger and using it, just outside of the basic things that it's there for. So really well done, Susan. Really, really enjoyed seeing that. And I know you had a favorite too, Annie.
Yeah, boy, I enjoyed seeing those, and I never would have thought about using a serger on that too. So I really loved the coat that Naomi made with the theme inclusion. So Naomi said that she prefers a real simple, clean design, so she didn't put any omission or embellishments on it, except for the star of the coat, which is the back. So on the back, Naomi created a little mini quilt, and she incorporated 2 patterns from Rebecca Halverson of Quilt by Night. I love everything about this coat. So the colors are amazing, down to the different colors on each of the fingernails that's holding up that protest sign. And what an amazing way to share a really important message. So Naomi fussy cut the zipper guard so that she could showcase the rainbow portion of the lining as another way to tie in with her inclusion theme. And Naomi said, this pattern is so easy and ingenious, I will definitely be making another. I was so impressed with that, Naomi, and I was so inspired by her coat that I immediately bought both of the FPP patterns. So now I just need to gather some fabric and get to work. But this is definitely on my list to do at some point in probably very different colors, but I thought that was just absolutely fabulous. Back to you.
Yeah, I absolutely love that coat too. Yeah, I love Naomi's coat too. And I'm really happy that you mentioned who the FPP patterns came from, because I know that she had shared it. I had written it down somewhere and that note had gone somewhere else. So now I have this video to come back to. So for makers looking for all of this inspiration, and so much more, loads of resources, frequently asked questions, and just general fun and cheerleading. I really do invite you to join the Quilting Elissa Makers group on Facebook. There are a host of resources, as I said, including those frequently asked questions, fitting topics, my top tips for getting started. I do have one request, and that is pretty please answer the required group questions when you join. When you click that join the group, your screen might refresh for a minute, and then the questions are going to pop right up on your screen. I promise you, they're super simple and quick. They just help us keep the group safe and full of SOS and prevent spam. The link to the group is included in the live quick links here in the description of this episode.
Yeah, and it is really a fabulous group. Elissa is so good at being a cheerleader, for one thing, but also being a really great educator and sharing so many tips, and she answers quick, and there's some amazingly talented people in there. So after all that, I bet a lot of our viewers are feeling inspired to start their own Bella Quilt Coat with a hood. So let's talk about skill levels. Who is this pattern best suited for?
Oh, well, thank you, Annie. You're very kind. I appreciate it. I do really enjoy seeing everyone's stuff and interacting. So, okay, so back to the pattern. So skill level. The patterns are best suited for the adventurous beginner / intermediate sewist. So if you're like, I'm brand new, I just sat down at my machine, maybe let's just do a little bit of, basic, let's make a mini quilt before we jump in. But definitely an adventurous beginner. That would have been me when I very first started quilting. That's kind of our target skill market here, or skill level. In the Bella Coat starter pattern, makers are going to learn how to construct a garment, including inserting inseam pockets, very straightforward and simple, installing a basic separating zipper, and then including that zipper guard or leaving it off if you're starting from a brand new coat, attaching a collar or a hood if you add that on in the expansion pack, and lining the garment. So very basic, straightforward. You're going to get some really good garment basic skill building. And then in the Bella Hood expansion pack, you're going to expand on those skills achieved in the jacket, and you're going to learn how to construct a 3-piece hood, 2 different styles, and then how to attach that hood design to their Bella Coat. So we just stair step, we just build, which is how I like to teach. Conquer one set of skills first, add something else, and Annie, in your bag patterns, that's very much the same way. When I think about some of my favorite bags, Bowl Me Over to Every Day, Every Way to Ultimate Travel 2.0, they're stair steps and they build upon each other. So that's really how I've set up the coat pattern as well.
That's a great idea. Yeah, once you know the basics, it's not that much different doing a bigger one or a smaller one. It's the same technique, so that's good. So talk about how you wear your Bella Coat with the hood options.
How do I not wear my coat is probably the better question. My Bella Quilt coats really do go everywhere with me. I have them in so many different styles, with hoods, without hoods, heavily appliqué, just showing off a fabric, or a couple of my favorite fabrics. Living in Northeast Ohio, I need lots of outerwear suitable for every season, as the temperatures can change really quickly from day to day or even hour to hour. So this makes layering really easy, and I have supreme versatility in changing my look with the removable hood, also according to my mood. So during football and volleyball season this fall, I'm really looking forward to my attached hoods to wear those all season long, because it might be, gorgeous 72 degrees on Thursday night, and it could very well be snowing on Friday night when we're Friday Night Lights. And then in volleyball season, I'm going to be indoors, and those convention centers and those expo halls are always really chilly. So an attached hood's going to be the way to go. I can always take my Bella Quilt Coat on an airplane. I'm always really cold on a plane, and it's the perfect combination of a quilt on the go. So I can stay warm and comfortable when I'm traveling to teach or lecture. And here's where a removable hood really comes in handy. Space on an airplane is really at a premium. So it's quick and easy to unsnap my hood and then just tuck it right into my bag. And then speaking of teaching, I often teach and lecture in my coats. They are just incredibly comfortable. They are not bulky, and I can move really easily because it's a relaxed fit jacket. So they go everywhere.
Which is awesome. Yeah, I love that. I live in the desert Southwest, where I don't get as many chances to wear a coat, but I certainly agree they have been fabulous for wearing at shows, because convention centers are freezing, and I wore those coats every day of every show that we've done since I made them. So they're my show outfits, which I love. All right, let's take a little sneak peek at what's ahead for Quilting Elissa. Is there anything exciting you want to share with everyone?
Way too many exciting things. Okay, so for those makers that want to turn their favorite fabrics into wearable fashion, you've been asking for it and very patiently waiting, my quilted sneakers sewing pattern is coming your way. And to go along with that, I have a couple of other fun things planned, so definitely stay tuned. There's a lot to look forward to, and I can't wait to start sharing with everyone soon.
Yeah, for sure. I've seen some sneak peeks of what's coming, and I can tell you all you're going to love it all. So that's all we're going to say for now, but more details coming soon. All right. So, Elissa, I know you love to be in the classroom. Do you have any upcoming classes or events that people can find you at?
I do love being in the classroom. I actually just wrapped up my last event of 2026 this past week at the Sewing Box Quilt Shop in Myersdale, Pennsylvania. And just look at this group of makers. We had an absolute blast creating our Bella Quilt Coats and quilted sneakers all weekend long. I always love teaching in April's shop, and this was definitely one to remember. I could not be more joyful for every single one of these makers that walked in, made their coats from scratch, and walked out. We had a whole fashion show. We took pictures. We, enjoyed great food. So I love being in the classroom. I am planning my 2027 events now, so stay tuned to my website to see where I will be in the coming year. Those events will be announced as the hosts are opening up registration. So don't panic if you don't see anything there right now. That doesn't mean there's not stuff coming. For quilt shops, event hosts, and retreat centers that are interested in hosting me as an educator, I do invite you to contact me through my website to learn more about educational opportunities and workshops. And you can find me at www.quiltingelissa.com.
That's awesome. And for people who maybe can't attend an in-person class, I am really excited to hear that you are planning to do a Dream Star Quilt Along. So do you want to talk a little bit about that and how it's going to work?
Yes, I am so excited about this. This is going to be so much fun. So I am formally inviting everyone to join me for the Dream Star Quilt Along that I will be hosting later this fall, 2026. Think October 2026, exact date TBD. This is going to take place on Facebook, and it is separate from my Quilting Elissa Makers group. So this Quilt Along group will be completely dedicated to Dream Star. It's going to be your opportunity to ask questions, get inspired, and we're going to work the pattern, and I'm going to quilt it right along with you. We're going to be piecing and doing all the things together. It is open now for membership requests. And while we technically won't start into the fall, joining the group now will give you time to get acquainted with your pattern and really start dreaming, pun intended, about your preferred layout and what fabrics you're going to use to create your Dream Star quilt. Please answer the questions when requesting to join the group. It is a requirement to join and participate in the group, as these questions. Very simple, I promise you. And the link to this group is included below in the live quick links in the description. So very excited. Can't wait.
That is going to be super fun. And boy, if you've never been around Elissa and watched her teach, you need to do this, because I've never seen a teacher like her, and she has so many great tips. So make sure you sign up and do that. Before we move on, let's see if our viewers have any questions. Okay, first question, Melissa, is there a lot of fabric waste with FPP?
So this is going to depend on how you FPP. I do not start mine from a big giant piece of fabric. In the cutting chart, I actually have you cut down to a very economical small piece. So there is not an exceptional amount of FPP. You don't have to measure any of the pieces or any of the blocks. I've already done it for you. So not an excessive amount of fabric waste. I recognize, just like everyone else, we love our fabric and we want to make the most of it.
Amen. Yeah, I love that you cut individual pieces for each one too, because you just go zip, 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 and you've got everything ready to go when you do it. And really, there is very little waste that comes off those pieces. So the next question was, can you repeat the name of the new designer, which I assume is you? So Elissa, do you want to spell your name? And because Quilting Elissa, there's lots of ways to spell Elissa. Tell us how it's all spelled.
Yeah, so quilting, Elissa, Elissa. The easiest way, honestly, to remember to pronounce my name, because quite frankly, I'll answer to anything besides "Hey you" or "Don't throw your scissors at me." But it's very simple to remember. It's Melissa without the M. So Quilting Elissa. Are they asking about my name, or are they asking about Callie though? I'm wondering now.
Oh, maybe. All right. So if you're talking about the new designer who designed the fabric, maybe it's Callie, Calle, and she has a little whatever that's called on the E. and her last name is Friesen, Friezen, and she's designing for In the Beginning Fabrics. Her company is Quiltberry Farm. I think Quiltberry is all one word, and she she's an artist. Well, she was a college professor. She has her PhD. But when she retired, she said, what am I going to do now that I'm grown up? So she decided to take her art and do extra stuff with it. So she has beautiful greeting cards that have been available through quilt shops for a while. She showcased a lot of them at H&H, but this is her first fabric line. So thank you for thinking of that. That is probably who they meant.
Yeah.
But yeah, just Woodland Animals is the name of the line. Callie Friesen, Quiltberry Farm, In the Beginning. All right, next question is, can Dream Star work with batik fabrics?
Oh, absolutely. Batiks are really cool because they already have like their own secondary pattern within the fabric. So that's really where you want to pay attention to your contrast there. So I would encourage you to sit down with the fabrics that you want to work with, and really start to lay those out in person. So, get your basic sketch and your coloring of how you want them to work together, and then make sure you lay them out together, because batiks, depending on where you're going to cut that piece from, can look a little bit different. Like let's say you've got a yellow background and maybe one's a little bit more muddled or one maybe has more gray in it, depending on how you cut those pieces for FPP. But there's no reason that batiks can't work. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. I think, like you said, the contrast would be the most important. And maybe one part of one fabric won't work where you have that intended, but it might work in the next section where it's a little bit darker or different in value. Do you starch your fabric?
I sure do. I'm not like a crazy, I don't take like a hose to it and starch it. But just, something like Best Press or like magic sizing, like light, nothing crazy, but I'm a planner. So of course I like a nice, crisp, flat fabric. The nice thing about FPP is that you really don't have to have super pressed, pieces, kind of like EPP. Like if it's a little, like wrinkled and I wrap it around my, my piece before I go, it's going to be fine. But yeah, I'm a starcher.
Got it. Next question, does the coat shrink when you wash it? And do you recommend making a larger size to account for shrinkage?
So in the pattern, I do instruct you to pre-wash your fabrics before cutting and quilting. That is the number one way to get the shrinkage that is included, that sizing. So there's something called sizing in fabric, and by pre-washing, that's number one way to get that sizing out of there, to prevent shrinkage. I really don't recommend making a larger size to account for shrinkage. The best way to determine what size you want to make in your quilt is to make a muslin test version. Your muslin's just going to be a basic shell. So your fronts, your back, sleeves, collar, you don't have to make a whole quilt. But that's going to be the best way to, number one, figure out what size you are. But I really don't recommend making a larger size. I wash my coats all the time. I wash mine on cold, delicate cycle. If I have a ton of colors in there, I do toss in a Shout color catcher into my wash cycle. And then I will even dry it on, like on a tumble dry, low heat, or you can lay it flat to dry. I would really not suggest that you hang it to dry, because you do have batting in there. And depending on the batting that you use and the content, that batting with the weight, if it's wet, can actually drag it down and stretch that batting out. So I haven't had shrinkage. I wash mine all the time. I just had a batch that came out of the washer and dryer.
You wear them a lot. I mean, they get a lot of wear, and you're up and down and in and out and stuff. So that's good to know. Next question was, can a drawstring be added to the hood?
I'm sure a drawstring can be added to the hood. It does add another, level, another layer of step, which takes us out from the skill level of beginner sewist / intermediate sewist to intermediate / advanced. So if you have the skill set, I definitely encourage you to give it a shot. I tested out on muslin first just to make sure that you're really happy with it. I went back and forth on including it, but ultimately decided against it because I wanted to make the pattern as, accessible to as many different levels of sewists as possible.
That's great. Are there kits available for the Dream Star Quilt? Do you know anybody who's kitting it?
So I actually do. I didn't expect this question, otherwise I could have written it down. If you Google Dream or whatever your preferred search engine is, if you put in Dream Star Quilt Kit, I know one is going to pop up here in the domestic United States. I do know that I also received a request from Australia from a quilt shop there, but I've already thought of that for you. So when you join the group, I do have a kitting guide, so you could that way you can take that directly to your favorite local quilt shop, walk right in with it, and get the exact fabrics that I've used in my
Nice.
quilt. So
Nice.
that is only going to be accessible in the group. So make sure that you pop into the group. Make sure that you go, and visit your favorite local quilt shop or your favorite online retailer if you don't happen to have a quilt shop that's close to you. And if there are quilt shops that are interested in kitting it, all you have to do is reach out through my website, and I'm more than happy to send that on your way. So that way you can already have it ready to go and cut out and stacked up and ready for everyone to just
That's a
grab it
great
and go.
idea. Because that definitely makes it so much easier if you can have everything there. And you've done all the work of figuring out where the fabrics should go and do all that. So thank you for that. Last question, and we talked about this, but it wouldn't hurt to say it again, is what is the name of the batting you recommend for the coat?
Oh, so my favorite batting in the coat is called Quilter's Dream Bamboo. It is a combination of silk, tencel, and bamboo. That's my personal favorite. There's several other, bamboo on the market. Winline is the other one, Winline, that we had mentioned that I know that Annie, you used in your coats. I've also played with that one a little bit, and it has a very similar feel. So those two I've seen in coats and perform really well.
And you
Once I
have
find
those
something that's
listed
like
in
a
the
favorite for me,
pattern
I'm not going
too.
to stray from it.
You have the name of the
I know
batting
that we
in the pattern,
definitely
don't you?
have it in. Yeah. Well, I think that we specifically say high quality batting because I don't
Oh,
want to, alienate
got
anyone that
it.
has a favorite of something else. But we talk about it in the group. I know it's been on all of our lives, and it's definitely mentioned in all the favorites. Yeah. So yeah,
Sounds
Quilter
good.
Stream Bamboo or Winline 100% bamboo, both great options.
Awesome. Alyssa, thank you so much for
Yep.
joining us today and sharing all your knowledge and all these amazing projects. It has really been fun to work with you over the past year. I really can't wait to see what we both come up with next because we've had a lot of fun. You're coming to see me in August, and it's going to be super fun to see you again then. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Annie. Big hugs to everyone at the ByAnnie team, and it's been an absolute blast. Appreciate it.
All right.
Hugs.
Hugs. We'll let you go. All right. I
Bye.
hope you all enjoyed learning more about Alyssa's patterns. As always, please ask for the patterns and supplies at your favorite local quilt shop. These shops are such an important part of our sewing and quilting communities. It's up to all of us to keep them strong and vibrant. And remember, if they don't have any of these, they can certainly get them. Fabrics from their favorite manufacturer, ByAnnie and Quilting Elissa patterns and supplies from their favorite distributor, or directly from us. And we are always happy to set up wholesale accounts for qualified shops, so just ask them to contact us for more information. And before we close, I have one quick announcement. Randy Jones of Randy's Roost is hosting a slow along for our popular pattern Running with Scissors. And this is going to start on July 18th, so not very far away, and it's going to run for 8 weeks. And registration is open now. The cost is a very reasonable $12. So just contact Randy at randysroost.com for more information, and we will put up the link to make it easy for you to find. So thank you again to everyone who joined us today. We are going to be back on Wednesday, August 5th at 2 p.m. Mountain Time with another super fun episode of Live with Annie. We are going to be joined by April Henry of the Featherweight Shop to talk about sewing ByAnnie bags on a Singer Featherweight. I can't wait. So mark your calendars now, and until then, happy stitching!